Good morning, my name is Jacob Folger and I'm an artist and a sculptor, and today I'm going to show you how to sculpt a tree on a rock. And so we're going to get started right away. We're going to use polymer clay. I have a chunk of it here, and I like the polymer clay because it's pretty hardy when you bake it in the oven after it's done, just a regular conventional oven, and it's very hardy. It'll last a long time. I actually like this material, but you could use self-hardening clay, water-based clay, paper clay you could probably use, but those types of clays are not going to be as hardy. And if you're using, definitely, I'm not sure about the paper clay, but if you're using the water-based clay, it will shrink and more than likely crack on a rock. But polymer clay doesn't really shrink, so that's not going to be an issue. And so I do recommend, and this video is for polymer clay. So the first step really is to seal the rock. You can use any kind of sealant. You can use spray sealants. You can use acrylic sealants. You can use paint. Of course, if you paint it, it's going to change the appearance of the rock. This is a product I use. This is called Golden's Medium GAC 100 multi-purpose acrylic polymer. And it's very easy to use. You squirt a little bit in like a cap like this. Just pour a little bit in there, and then just take a regular paintbrush like this, and just paint it on the rock. And I usually just paint the whole rock, even though I'm touching the wet of the acrylic. It just doesn't seem to matter too much if I get my fingers on it a little bit, and then I'll just set that off to the side. I'm using that as a sample. This rock I painted just a little while ago. So it's ready to go, and we can get started and keep the film rolling. It's a little bit damp still, but it's fine because we're going to have to do some preparation beforehand. Always, of course, wash your brush. I have a can here of water, and just keep that nearby here. Just a empty can of water, just dab it into the water so that the brush is good and clean, or at least wet with water for now. And because it will dry on the brush and ruin the brush if you don't do that. So we have our rock. I want to talk about rocks for a minute. From an artistic standpoint, I chose this rock for this video because it has striations in it. It's imperfect. It's got little cracks, but it's not likely to break. It's a nice little rock. It just has a nice kind of artistic look to it, and so I want to sculpt my tree on that. And there's a couple of things. If you want to have like a certain the way that the rock is standing, and you want to get it to stand a certain way, like this perhaps, you can take some of the clay. First you want to work it in your hands like this and get it warmed up by just squeezing it, rolling it, kneading it. You can take little bits of clay like this, roll little balls, and you can use them as feet. Work them into the stone. So she would put 2 on there just for a matter of example here, and just put 2 on there and just work them into the stone a little bit, and then just stand it up like that, and see that, so it's standing there. I prefer to have this sitting like this, though, I think. So that's how it's going to sit for us in this video. Now, to make your tree, It's really not that hard to make a tree, but when I'm making a tree for my own communication of, you know, creation and creating something, I don't really like my tree to be jacked up, standing at attention. And if you look at my trees, I'm going to include some pictures on this video, and then you could also visit, I would invite you to visit my Etsy shop, and you can see more of my sculptures there. And I'll put a link to that on the video here. But if you look at the trees, they all have this certain look where they're sort of relaxed, curving slightly or whatever. That's what I always do. I do that because it just naturally feels right for me. But you can shape it any way you like, but I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, to start the roots and the beginning of the branches, I'm going to just simply use a pair of scissors because I have found that to be the best way. So I'll cut it like that, and then I'll cut it again so that we'll have 3 roots coming down off the base. And then I'll just curve those out like that. So a couple important points as I was talking I didn't cover is that you definitely want to knead this clay and get it good and soft and warm. I call it warm because that's what it is basically. It's warm, and it's going to mold a lot better, and it's going to stick to the stone a lot better. So we got that, and I'm just forming them now. I'm just smoothing them out, you know, to get out the cut marks from the scissors. And then I'm just gonna find an orientation on the stone that I like for the roots. I'm turning the stone, looking at it from most of the directions that are possible, and then I just basically, as you notice my hand, my fingers are going, they're kind of rocking, shaking, pushing down so that the roots bond with the stone, okay? Like that. Now what I'll do is I'll take a little bit more clay. I'll knead it as I want to use it. I'll take it off my little chunk here, and I'll knead it a little bit before I start using it. And here what I'll do is I'll just start adding clay if I want it to sculpt the roots to the size and shape that I want them to be, like that. And you know, I also like to turn them a little bit, maybe that way, like that, so they look more natural. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now, while it's still there on the stone, I'm not taking it off. I'm just going to make a couple snips to give me the beginning of the branches, like that, and open it up. And these are going to be the supports for the foliage. Now, I frequently use moss for the foliage of my trees. I use both live moss, which has to be watered 2 or 3 times a day, and sometimes. Okay, so I use the scissors to snip the top and to give me the shapes of the branches. And I'm spreading them out now, and I'm just molding them a little bit. These will support the foliage of the tree, and we'll get to that in a little bit here. What I usually do is at the separation at the top where it might be weak, I'll knead a little bit of clay here, and then I'll just put it there on the top. And in the source list of things that you'll need, I have included some wood tools for sculpting that you can get at an art supply or craft store, and I'll just blend that in and just kind of make it part of the top there, just so it's gonna be a little bit more sturdy, like that. Okay, so it's kind of like that, and then and I'm just gonna take my thumb and forefinger, and I'm just gonna flatten this out a little bit because we're gonna put foliage up there, and we're gonna sculpt it in. And frequently I use moss, live moss, and I use dried moss because I think it looks realistic and it looks really nice. But some people can't find moss where they are, or they have limitations that way. So I'm going to show how I would sculpt foliage, and there's many ways to do it, but I'm going to show you my way today. So now I'm going to show you how. So the tree right now is standing straight up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to support the lower part of the tree, and then I'm just going to bend the top over a little bit like that, just to give it more of a more natural, relaxed appearance. It's not jacked up, standing at attention. It's relaxed, and then maybe just touch it up a little bit where there might be we want those branches to be fairly strong, and then also trees have bark on them. They have texture. So what I usually do is we'll draw in texture. I'll just support it with my finger to the back of the tree, and then just draw in or carve in lines to give it texture. There we go, just draw them right in there. Go right down onto the roots, so everything's consistent, connected. You can hold your finger to the back of the roots like this, and you can draw in lines like that. So everything is connected and consistent. Okay. Now another thing that you can do, which I often do, is I'll add a little knot into the tree, a knot hole. You don't have to do it, of course, but it does add life to the piece. Just press in a little hole there, like that, sort of carve it in. And now this is ready to cook. So what we're going to do is we're going to cook it first, and then we're going to sculpt the foliage on and then cook it again. So I only want to cook this for about 20 minutes because I don't want to cook it too much. I don't want to overcook it since I'm cooking it twice. It will be 275 degrees in a conventional oven. Just place a rock on maybe a plate or something like that, put it in the oven and put it in there for 20 minutes. Preheat the oven at 275 degrees, and then we'll come back and do the foliage. Okay, while the tree is cooking, there'll be a few more minutes, I want to just talk about stones and where to find them. I have been going down to my creek, the local creek here. I go there frequently with my dog to give her a run and let her play. And I also go down there to shoot photographs of the water reflections. Some of you have seen my on my channel. There's a lot of little montage videos of my images that I've taken for photography. You can find that on my channel. And these are some rocks that I actually got yesterday. I went down there and just went to the water side and started pulling them out of the water. And they're in some interesting shapes. This is a little tiny one. This would be nice for a little tree, maybe even a little house, a little fairy house or something like that. This is an interesting shape here. And again, as I had said before, if you want to change the orientation, but it won't stand up on its own, you can just take a little piece of the polymer clay. Comes in different colors, so you can match it to the rock color, or you can paint it later. But basically, you would need the clay, as always, and put it on the rock. After the rock is sealed, of course, this rock is not sealed, so it's not going to stay very well. And then just get it to stand up the way you want. So that's something to consider. So, of course, in your woods, the forest around you, any place really, you can find rocks. The park. Or whatever, but that's, the creek, the river, the lake, any place where there's an opportunity for nature to be there, more than likely you'll be able to find some kind of rocks or something to work on. And you can also work on pieces of wood. Again, you'd have to seal them just like anything else. And I'll put in this video a picture of an owl I did on a piece of wood I found in the woods and in the nearby forest. So that will give you an idea, and we'll get started in a few minutes with the foliage of the tree, sculpting the foliage of the tree. Okay, so I've got the tree out of the oven now, and again, I only cooked it for about 20 minutes. The prescribed cooking time for the Sculpt brand, which is what I'm using here, of polymer clay, is 15 minutes for every 1/4 inch of mass, and this is just under probably an inch, or not an inch, but maybe a 1/2 inch. This is probably about a 1/2 inch of mass, so that would be about 30 minutes. So I didn't cook it all the way, but the reason why I cooked it is because the branches before cooking it are really soft, and if I put any amount of weight on them, the whole thing would just probably bow over by the time it was cooked. And the reason why is because when the clay is cooking, it gets really soft before it gets hard, and it just wouldn't work. I know this from experience. So the way I make the foliage is, it's actually fairly simple. I found it to look pretty good. Again, I prefer moss, live moss or dry moss, because it looks better. In fact, here's a piece of moss here. This is kind of dry here, but placed on top, it's kind of messed up here. It's got this little piece hanging off, but basically it looks a lot more realistic. You got to play with it a little bit, but that looks more realistic to me than if I were to use clay. But I've used clay a few times just to see how it would look, and just trying new things. And so this is what I do. So basically I went online, which I recommend a lot to people. There's a wealth of images online. You just enter what you want to see, and then look at the images. Just click on the images for whatever it is. In this case, I looked at bonsai trees. And that's where I got some of the ideas and images in my brain for the way I'm making the foliage. And it's very simple. I basically roll a ball of clay, flatten it out, and form it into an oval shape like this. Maybe stretch it out a little bit. I have to have it to go over the branches, overhanging a little bit. I'm just stretching it out now. This is how one creates. You gotta try things and actually, you know, do it to create. It doesn't just happen. And I'm just kind of seeing what looks best here. Now keep in mind, I do usually let people know that I have the camera. The camera is between me and the subject. It takes away from some of the energy that would be there otherwise. It makes it kind of difficult for me both to see it. Normally it would be much closer to my eye, but I've got to keep it here so you can see it. So that's, you know, it may not look as good as it would if I had, you know, didn't have the camera there. But all excuses aside, this actually doesn't look too bad. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take it off there, and I'm reminding you about texture. You know, foliage has texture, so you can do all kinds of different things. You can do lines in it like this, short lines. That's one option. Another option is to dig it deeper with the other end of the tool. That's another option. Another option is to take something else like the back of a paintbrush, or just about anything for that matter, and make little stipples in it like that. But whatever feels right to you, that's what you want to do. Whatever looks good to you, feels good. You're the artist. You're still an artist, even though you're doing something, an image that I have, you know, created. I'm bringing it to you so that you can learn. I mean, that's how you learn. I think, is by looking at other artists' things, and you know, and then after that, you're creating for a while, maybe even trying to create the images of other artists, and then you jump off from that, you leap off from that, and you become your own creator. You start, ideas will pop into your head. You'll be taking a nap and you'll say, oh wow, what about this? Naps are great for coming up for ideas. In fact, I come up with many of my ideas while taking my afternoon nap, I have to say. So it will jump off from there. That's what I want. I'm here to help you, you know, get to that point. And really the best way is for me to show you how I do it, and then you can come up with your own ideas later on. So we want to do both sides, just drawing lines in it. That's what I'm doing here. I just want to get it rough, kind of like, you know, if you look at it from about 5-6 feet away, you know, you say, wow, that's a little tree. You know, you actually can see the tree in it. It's not my preference. Again, I prefer to use moss, but for the sake of the people out there that can't find moss, they've got refineries all around them, and the river is all polluted, and they can't find moss, or they can't find moss online or whatever. Here you are. So now I'm going to put it on there, and I just want to make sure the branches are all within the confines of the outside edge, and then I'll press it onto the branches like that, and then maybe try to fold down the edges, the outside edges a little bit, so it's definitely covering the outside edge of the branches, the point of the branches. And don't worry if you obscure some of those lines, you can put them back in. And there we go. So that's kind of where I'm at. And then what I'll do is I have different powders that this is green, and I'll just take it and get it on my finger like this, and I'll just put it right on the clay. I don't like to put it on too bright, but I definitely want to show some green like that. I'll just put a little bit on so it does show through a little bit. And then also on the bottom, you can just put some on the bottom of the foliage. Then I also have some bronze colored. It's basically gold powder. It comes, you know, in like a jar. You can get it from the art supply store. It's on the source list. I'll put it on my finger. I'll swirl my finger to my thumb like that, just so it's not really heavy. And I'll just highlight the tree a little bit. We're going to cook this again, and when we cook it again, it will kind of become embedded in the clay. And that just gives it more of a natural kind of color of a tree, I think, and it also looks very elegant. To me it does. And then now we'll cook this for about 20 minutes in the oven at 275 degrees and let it cool, and then it will be done. That's basically how we do this. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to contact me through the email on my website, on my channel page, or you know, leave me a comment, and I'll try to respond back to you. I do welcome that from people that watch my videos. And please subscribe to my channel if you like this kind of content. I have over 300 videos on how to do all kinds of things, and a lot of it is sculpting clay. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.